Hey guys! So I wanted to make this video because over the past few months, a lot of people have been asking me how I studied for Step 1 because they know I was really happy with how I did, and so they've been asking me, and some other people have been asking me too, how I studied. So I wanted to make this video to try to help people that are trying to study for Step 1 now and want to do the best that they can. So I started studying seriously about 6 months before, 5 to 6 months before I took Step 1. And I was still in school then. So I took it at the end of my second year of medical school, and we had about 5 weeks at the end of the year, about all of May and like a couple of weeks, the first 2 weeks in June to take Step 1. So I took it June 6th. So I got a break after it for a week until the third year rotation started. So I wanted to take it a little bit earlier so I would have that break after to relax after studying for so much before the clerkship started. So everyone has to find out what's best for them, like what's their schedule like, when they want to take it, when they want to have a break from studying, how long they want to study, because you gotta know if you're gonna burn out from studying so much. You don't want to burn out and be too tired to learn anything more, and be too tired to even take the test. So the goal is to peak your knowledge the day that you take the test. So that's important. So my school, the classes of second year kind of ended the end of April, early May. So I wasn't going to wait till then to start, reviewing just during those 5 weeks. So it was very important for me to start in kind of January. I started to review things from the first year, like biochemistry, immunology, the basic pathology, and microbiology. So those four main things I would say to start reviewing again, because you probably haven't seen them since the first year, especially biochem and immunology. Micro you do with each system, so maybe you'll know more of that. But it was important to start reviewing this early, and I would have to go over it many times. So how did I study? So, Doctors in Training, the videos, DIT, those were the main videos that I used the entire time, and they were amazing. So for the second year, when we had our systems, the pathology systems, we would do each system RES, renal, GI, heme. So I would first watch all the DIT videos in that subject. So, and I would do all the physiology in that too, which we learned first year. So I do everything in that from DIT also. So DIT I use for everything. I use it to review the first year stuffs and to learn my second year information. So from DIT, I would write it into my first aid. This is the Bible. This is number 1. You need to get this. So this came out December when I took the December before I took Step 1. So 7 months before I took Step 1, the 2017 version came out. And I had the 2016 version from the first year with all my notes and that from first year. So I transferred all my notes from first year into this one and then started my new information from second year also into this. Because you want to have the newest edition of first aid. So this you need, here's some of my notes. I love it. And I still use this for clerkships too, because a lot of notes and important information's in here that I still use. So definitely you want first aid, and you don't need to use DIT. Find what works for you. There's a lot of video sources. I heard some use Dr. Najib, some use some first aid videos. Some use Kaplan, I heard. So you just gotta find what source is good for you and stick with it. You don't want to have all these sources and go back and forth. So I would recommend definitely DIT, or a video source that works for you, and to take notes from that into the first aid section. So I did that, and then I would review the section over and over again with my notes. I would only watch the videos once and take the notes I need into here, and then I would focus knowing the information in here, because this is the real Bible. So if you know every word in here, you're going to do really well on Step 1. And not just know it, but understand it. So I spend a lot of time understanding the processes in here, all the physiology, all the pathology. I want to understand why things happen, not just memorize a fact. So if you can understand the information, you're going to be able to figure out questions that you've never even seen. So that's what I found was really important. So after I reviewed I watched all the DIT videos, even micro. I know some people use sketchy, so if you want to do sketchy micro for micro instead, do that. Find what works for you, but take notes into the micro section. So I took my DIT notes and would memorize them in here with first aid. Okay, so that was one. Then second, you need to do the UWorld questions. I think that was the thing that helped me the most. So during second year with the systems, I would do every single question in that system in UWorld. So like for renal, I would do every single renal question, all the pathology, all the physiology, all the immuno, all the micro in renal. So I would click all renal and do all the questions. And I would keep reviewing them over and over and over again, sets of 40, like 20 times, until I knew every single question, but not just knew the answer, like knew why that was the answer. And when you get a question right or wrong in UWorld, it gives you explanations of the answer and why each answer is right or wrong. So what I would do is take notes from that into first aid also, into the section. So if I didn't understand something, I would write it down and explain it, and I would also write down information of the wrong answers and write notes about that and some examples of when that answer would be right if they worded a question a certain way. So that helped me so much, and I think step one was a lot like UWorld. So by the study period, I did UWorld about, I don't know how many times, but I did at least each question at least 5 to 10 times, if not more, by the study section. So like I felt like I knew almost every question in UWorld, and that helped me so well. And not just like when it came up, I said, oh, I remember this question before. No, like I could read it and get the answer by thinking of things I learned from first aid and UWorld. So I would say DIT and UWorld and first aid were my main sources, and they were amazing. Also, when I learned the systems and the pathology, I used Pathoma for that. So that was really helpful to learn the pathology at first. But honestly, I think if you just did DIT, it would be okay. But if you want to learn more and maybe enhance the knowledge or like go more detailed, I would recommend Pathoma also. And but DIT, first aid, and UWorld are the best sources. So then a few weeks before I was ready to take the step, getting into the study period where we didn't have anything and just could study all day, I started doing the practice NBMEs online. So if you go to the NBME website, there's like 5 or 6 ones that you could buy. I think they're like, I'm not sure how much they are, maybe $20 or $40 each, $10 each. I don't know. You gotta check, but they're so worth it, and they're like old test questions that they use, so they're very similar to the real step one. So I would recommend doing every single one of these tests timed and like in a testing setting. So go to a library, go to a quiet study room, and do it like you're taking the actual exam. So these are all 200 questions, and the real one's 280. So it's almost as long as it. It's like a little shorter. So it'll be about 5 hours. And these questions were great. And when you get the results, you get like a score, and you get the questions you got wrong. But they don't tell you the answer, so you got to look it up, or talk with people about it. But this was a great way of knowing how I was doing, because I did about 1 a week. So like for the 6 weeks leading up to it, I would do 1 every week. So I saw how I was progressing, and I was going up slowly, and it was very accurate, because the last test I did it like 2 or 3 days, like the week of my step 1, and it was within 1 point of how I actually did. So it was very accurate, and I also learned a lot from the questions. And what was good about the questions was that I could see like this was towards the end of when I was studying, so I could see the small details I still needed to go over, and last minute things I needed to review and brush up on. because in the last weeks going up to the test, that's when I wanted to feel like I knew most of the things, but just have to review certain little topics here and there, so I could get those last points at the end. So yeah, that's how I studied. And also during the study time, I just read first aid front to back like three or four times, and tried to memorize remember everything in here because it's the Bible basically. And so that's how I did pretty well. I was really proud of myself going into it. I did not think I could get my goal, because at the beginning I made a goal of getting over 250, and I really wanted to do the best I could to get that, so I could have all my options open. So I was very happy when I got my goal, and if I could do it, stick to my plan, and study, then I think you could do it too. So some last minute things is people ask me how much I studied. So during the study period of like 5 weeks I would study every day, obviously, and like maybe 8 to 10 hours of actual study time, like not on my computer or anything, like 8 to 10 hours. And then from January for like the 4 months before that, when I was still in school though, doing systems, so I would be in school day and having to learn those systems, but I would study like old stuff, maybe like 3 days a week, for about like 4 hours a day after I would have classes or something. But also during those times, I would study the system that I was in really well, like I was studying for the boards. So I would be studying that a lot during the week also, and then like about 4 hours a couple times a week for the old stuff. So that's what I did. Let me know if you have any other questions, and good luck. You could do it.